Fabulous. I think we are ready. So a warm welcome, everyone. Absolutely delighted. We're Future Schools. We're delighted to welcome you all today to join with our friends at the Academy of Entrepreneurs and our new friends at Amazon for today's masterclass. This is part of the 5-week entrepreneurship program, Boss Your Future, which has just launched and started in many of our schools across Australia. Amazing news and stories coming out. So please do follow that and tag that on LinkedIn. Some really wonderful things happening. My name is Jen Buchanan. I'm convener with our Future Schools learning community here and just delighted that you're actually all able to join us this afternoon. I would like to acknowledge that this webinar is being hosted from the traditional lands of the Boonwurrung people of the Kulin Nation, and across Australia we meet on many traditional lands, paying our respects to our ancestors, elders, and any First Nations people joining us today. Just a tiny little bit of housekeeping before we get started. This just helps our session run smoothly. We would really appreciate if you could take a moment just to update your name, which I will also do in a moment. Update your name just to reflect who you are and what school you're from. And if you're in a space where you're able to turn your camera on, that would be amazing. It just makes us feel a little bit more connected in this virtual world. Enough from me though. We've got about half an hour here with our friends, and Paula, I think this is a really good time just to hand over to you to introduce our friends. I'll put it to the chat and we'll go from there.
Thank you, Jen, and amazing to see so many beautiful smiles and waves and little hearts from all over Australia. So thank you for logging in today. So today's going to be a very different, unique and important session where we are inviting a dear friend of mine who leads the Department of Education and Innovation over at Amazon. And we invited Fatima to share her experience. How does she innovate and bring so much change into a business that is disrupting the world and creating such a positive impact through education and also technology? So Amazon has always been one of those companies that we wonder, how do they do it? What is the secret sauce? How do they keep all of the team innovating? So Fatima is going to share her experience on how she got the role and also how Amazon encourages her to innovate and also approves the projects. And hopefully we can take some notes and bring that innovation into our schools. I won't be doing the talking today. It will be our beautiful Peter that will be interviewing Fatima today. So I will be listening and learning together with you guys. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Over to you, Peter and Fatima.
Well, thank you, everyone. And probably like me, you're really excited. And when you saw that we had somebody joining us from Amazon, you too wanted to find out about that special sauce, and just overjoyed that Fatima could come along and share her many learnings. So I'm just wondering, Fatima, if you could start by just telling us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah.
And one of the questions that we always ask is, what was your experience of schooling like?
Cool. So let me give a brief intro. So I'm Fatima, and I know you guys mentioned Amazon, but I work in another part of the entire Amazon business. So I work for Amazon Web Services, which is our cloud computing business. I'll go deeper into the different businesses that we have, but I've been here for more than 3 years now. I've changed 2 or 3 roles in the past 3 years. My current role is in the training and the certification team for APJ. My previous role was for public sector customers as a customer success manager. And that was a new role. So that was an innovation that my manager at the time who hired me did in terms of having a completely different role that she didn't have before. So that's one of the areas. You can have a requisition or a job open with a title that probably no one knows it exists. So that's the kind of empowerment that Amazon employees have. Just one bit to it. In terms of my schooling, so I'm born and brought up in Mumbai in India. And I was really good at school. I absolutely loved maths. My daughter hates it. Don't ask me why, but I absolutely enjoyed mathematics. I have done computer engineering, so I'm a software developer by profession. I've stopped coding for more than 8 years now, or more, I think about 10 years now. So I moved from software development to technical services to customer success to sales. So I've done a number of different roles, and I would say my days of coding have well gone. So yeah, that's a little bit about me.
And Fatima, did you feel that your schooling prepared you for the work that you now find yourself in, or was it a more traditional education?
No, I think it was a very traditional education, and I don't know if people here know schooling in India can be very difficult. It's very hard. There's a lot of pressure. I can compare that with how my daughter does at the moment. There's absolutely nothing that kids here do compared to what I have gone through back home. So we had literally zero time to do anything. And it's like a rat race back home. So it's very different. I would say in a way, it prepares you to handle stress at work, because you are doing that since you are a teenager. You know, you have that constant pressure to perform well and be visible. And I think that kind of helps, but it can help and not, in pros and cons. So my daughter doesn't want to go back and study there. That's for sure. She prefers to study here.
Where is here, by the way?
So I'm based in Sydney, Australia.
Oh, yeah, beautiful. And so when you look at your daughter's schooling, to what degree does creativity play a part, do you think, in preparing people for entrepreneurship, as opposed to that diligent, follow through that you experienced in your education?
I think we did not have a lot of room to innovate or do things differently. We had like a set molds where every student is supposed to answer questions in a particular way, or it's not accepted. And that's one thing that I absolutely love about the Australian education system. We are not creating robots, we are creating individuals. We let their personalities shine, things like that. So I think that's extremely important. My daughter is 15 years old, and she's already set up 3 different businesses. And she's able to do that because she learns that in school, right? She recently attended a Western Sydney University 3 days business workshop. She's in year 9, but she attended that in the university. And I think the first thing she comes back and she says, I'll start delegating from tomorrow. And I was like, yeah, that's one of the things that leaders do. So yeah, I think that's what I enjoy about seeing her, and kind of be envious about not being able to do when I was a teenager. So I don't think I was involved in sports at all. There was absolutely no time. So it's not just about being creative, it's also about being able to do what you like, which is extremely important.
And how have you seen it running these 3 businesses impact on her personal development, as well as her even crossover into her academic and studies?
Oh, she is excellent at them. So she doesn't run all 3 of them parallelly. So they spring up and they die down, they spring up and they die down. So, but I think that's all right, because she has that, being an entrepreneur at that age and being able to think about my money and things like that is quite fulfilling. And she's very careful about spending her own money, which is excellent. So if you give her pocket money, she would love to spend that. But if you tell her to use her money that she's earned, she is kind of careful about that. So I like that, just giving that sense of responsibility.
And I'll stop asking questions and call for questions from the floor in just a moment. But when you're looking for employees, people that work for you, or indeed any of the roles within Amazon, to what sort of qualities are they looking for in young people?
So one thing about Amazon is they look for people who have their own ideas, and they're innovative, and they have those entrepreneurial skills. So if you come into an Amazon interview and you say that you have your own business, that's taken as a positive point. And I know that there are organizations and companies that people will hide about sharing their own business, because an employer would think that you probably are not doing the right thing by having your own business and then looking for a job. But that's how different Amazon is. And also we deal with a lot of ambiguity at Amazon. And I think different departments of Amazon deal with that, because since we talk about or think about new things, we don't necessarily know if they'll work, if they'll be successful, if they'll fail, things like that. So those are some of the things that, one thing that I want to talk about in terms of interviewing and also in terms of day-to-day at Amazon, we have 14 leadership principles that are extremely important for Amazonians and future Amazonians. So these are the guidelines that we interview people on. And those are the guidelines that we use in our day-to-day, and it kind of helps with your promotions or your annual performance. So we call them LPs, lots of short forms, yeah. And managers and even your peers look at whether you are performing in those LPs. There is also one we call Amazon and Amazonians peculiar. And there are certain things that are very unique to Amazon. There are things like working backwards or culture of innovation and mechanisms, 6 pages. There's so many things that can be very daunting for someone who is not Amazonian. So it takes time to get there. And that are some of the things that we look for an individual when we are hiring them. Because if someone is very dependent on stringent processes, or they would like to do things only if they are being told how to do things like that, then they probably not be the right fit for being an Amazonian. We want people to be disruptive, right? And to be open about it. And that's one of the reasons why I love working here is I can go up to my manager or even my manager's manager and tell them, I think we are not doing this right and I want to do it this way. And he'd be happy to let me try it this way. And one thing is I'm okay if I fail. So if I go back and tell him, okay, it didn't work this way, I'll go back to this way, that's fine. So that's encouraged. So we are okay if we are failing, which is fine as far as we learn lessons from there and then move on to the next one, not pile up on it and keep doing the wrong way. So those are some of the things that actually make working at Amazon very enjoyable.
I'm about to throw to the audience. So if you've got a question or a comment that you'd like to make, if you just use that hand raising function. Some of you may know I've got a new gig at Gisborne Montessori School. And one of the things that I'm seeing, because we're wanting to make this one of the most student-empowered schools in the world, but kids have a real fear of failure. And so today we actually ran an assembly, and it's failing is actually the first attempt in learning. And so we were all concentrating on that, you know, when you fail, it's a good thing because it's your first attempt in learning. Okay, so can we, and I might even throw to you to manage this thing, if that's all right. But who's got a question for Fatima?
I have a question. Can you talk about this one pager that everyone talks about at Amazon?
It's actually not just a one pager. One pager probably is the most easiest one compared to the different pages that we have. So I'll give you a bit of a backstory to the one pager. So we have something called as working backwards process, where Amazon is very big about everything starts with the customer. So if I want to come up with a project, it has to be customer centric. And working backwards is we talk about what is it for the customer, what problems will it solve for the customer, and what will happen if we don't do things like that. So we answer those couple of questions. Well, the document, the narrative is what we call it. It's actually a 6-pager. So it has to be, it's a 6-page document, and there is a lot of guidelines around fonts and borders and things like that. So you can't have like big fonts and make it 6-pager. So there are guidelines around 10-point fonts, and the borders have to be certain. And the document also has to be in a format where it tells a story. So you start with a problem, then you give a bit of a background, and then you put in what exactly are you trying to do? How would you achieve this? And who would help you? You ask whether you want budget for that, or do you want approval or feedback, etc. So one other thing that I missed was Amazon is very data focused, number focused. So we need to share a lot about, so if I am coming up with a particular project, I need to share a lot of details in terms of exact numbers. So we don't like things like about 3%. It can be 3.1% or it can be 3.2%. It can't be about 3% or approximately 3%, things like that. So like I said, pretty peculiar in certain things, but that's how it is. And writing at Amazon is a very complicated process, and it doesn't come easily. It can be very time consuming because when we go through a lot of workshops, they give us a lot of training about writing, because it's said that 80% of the writing is actually thinking. So if you have thought through for the 80% of the time, you should be able to write in the remaining. But if you think and then start, as in if you start writing before thinking, you're probably not doing it right. So that's the narrative. One of the cool thing is we have this webinar called as Culture of Innovation, because we do get this a lot, but people want to know about the innovation at Amazon, right? So we have this webinar. I'll share the link through to Paula, and then anyone who is interested in learning more about culture of innovation at Amazon, you can just join that webinar when that's happening. I think it keeps on happening on a regular basis. But I'm pretty sure people here would know Jeff Bezos. He's, apart from being the second richest or the first richest, I don't know, he keeps changing his spot. He was the CEO and the founder of Amazon, and he started off with just books. So that's the whole story. So when we talk about the culture of innovation, we talk about how Amazon grew from, I think, his mom's garage, and to so many warehouses and centers across the world. And how did he, it's a very funny story that when he thought about the whole business, he do it in a restaurant on a napkin. And that's still a very funny story that they share with us when we join Amazon. So it's a wheel. It's called as a flywheel story. You can just Google it because it's quite famous in terms of why he thinks about customers. So the main business of Amazon is Amazon.com, which is still the one that generates the most revenue for the entire parent company, right? And then we have devices, and we have transport, we have logistics, and then Amazon Web Services, which is the cloud computing business, which is the tech wing of the Amazon. And I think there are a lot more. So we don't have that in Australia, but there is Amazon Fresh, which is actually a grocery store where it's like you don't have to line up in any checkouts. I think they have it in the US and the UK. I've used them in both the places. So you just use your Amazon.com app and you enter the store, you pick up whatever you want and you walk out. So it's the coolest technology
It's such a weird
ever.
feeling. It feels like you're stealing something because you just walk and it just starts as your Amazon account, but it's so cool.
It just freaks me out every time. I have tried it in Chicago, and I recently tried it in London. And my daughter would just refuse to walk out. She's like, "You haven't paid." I was like, "I'm not supposed to pay." And she waited till I actually got the email saying the order has been placed. So yeah, she's a bit eccentric in that way. So she just made sure that I paid for it. But it is quite cool. So things like that. So we had to go through a series of conversations about how the technology actually works. So it's IoT and cameras and AI and ML, a lot of things that I don't understand, but it is quite cool to just walk out without paying. I mean, you do pay, but not to someone.
That I love about Amazon is that you hear again and again, I don't know if it's true, but like when you're innovating, if your team is too big that 2 pizzas can't feed them, you're doing something wrong. So the idea of innovating in small teams, so you're failing fast but with a small team without putting the company in danger. And I think that's such a good technique. So a lot of people think that when they innovate, they need to get the whole team involved, the whole company, but the smaller it is, the quicker you'll be able to pivot.
Yeah, so that's we call that 2 pizza teams. So that's what Jeff said, that if the team size has to be such that 2 pizzas should be able to fill them up. So that's still true. It does go up and down because sometimes things change and like that. But we do have the 2 pizza teams as one of the nuances or peculiarity where that's kind of important that the teams are that size. So smaller teams is right.
We've got a question here from Michael. Michael, do you want to turn on your camera and ask the question? Are you still there? Mr. Michael Ha. He's asked us, how does Amazon move first, experiment constantly, and fail fast? Does it play out in the real world? Does it actually work?
Yeah, it is all real work. So if so it moves first, I don't think necessarily it moves first, but the idea of anyone within Amazon is able to come up with an experiment or with an idea. It's quite cool. So it doesn't depend on what level you are on or where in the hierarchy do you fit, things like that. If you have a cool idea, all you have to do is write the 6-pager and make sure that you've done all the work, because if you want your idea to be implemented, then you need to make sure that you have the right things in place. You can take help from a number of people, and you need to present that document to your leadership. And if it is approved, you do get that idea gets implemented. So, and not everything requires a 6-pager. If it is something that involves millions of dollars, if you require millions of dollars for funding that idea, yes, that could go right up to Andy Jassy's level or Adam Stilisky's level. But if it is something small or unique that you just want to try as a campaign with our customers, or a new training product, or a new market for training, things like that, you can quickly just share that idea, share the details about the experiment, and get it approved. It's a cool thing to kind of even go back and say, this is the results that you achieved. And based on the results, you could either amplify the idea or just close it. So there's something called as two-way doors. So if it is a two-way door, you are encouraged to just go ahead and do it. If you can come back anytime, just do it. So one of the leadership principles is bias for action, where we are encouraged to quickly do things. Don't wait for all the information to be collected and gathered and minced upon. Just do it quickly, fail quickly, and move on. Does that answer the question? Was it Michael?
Perfectly answers. Peter, any final question? We've got 5 more minutes with Fatima.
I'm just interested to what degree, like when you're selecting staff, to what degree marks and qualifications count? Do you have to have a degree?
Not at all. It is so diverse. So just to give you an example, the standard tenure of a person working in a particular role is about 2 to 3 years, and we are allowed and we are encouraged to try different roles. We do have to go through an interview process again for moving on to another role, but the hiring managers are open for people to come experiment and try something that you haven't tried before. So that's highly encouraged within Amazon as well. And I don't think my qualification or my marks or my grades ever came up in the entire interview process. They would ask for background checks. That is very stringent at Amazon, but it is not a deal breaker for you to enter into a particular, as far as you're being truthful about what you've done in life and you present that. So yeah.
And Fatima, I was going to ask something, Peter, just with the last couple of minutes, because I'm looking around at our audience and they're leading a group of students over the next 5 weeks in their entrepreneurship program. From your experience leading teams, what advice would you give to our educators as they're working with these students over the next 5 weeks?
I would say encourage people to make their own decisions, even if when you listen to them, you know that it's not probably right, but let them get there. And let them fail on their own and realize that they have failed, and then be there to encourage them, because I think that's one of the things that this generation doesn't do well, is failing. Because with the suicide rate spiking up if your marks aren't good, that's very common in India, where students are very dejected if their marks are not good and things like that. But I think it's highly important to know that grades are, I'm telling this to schools, but grades are not the make and break for your lives. I mean, you can do really different things in life. I have studied to be a software developer, but I'm not doing that at all. So things change, and life takes its own course. It's just about getting the right opportunity at the right time and just taking that.
Okay, and the last one I'm going to ask, this could be a real case scenario. It's week 4 of the program. There's a week to go. You're working with your students, and you can see which direction to push them to get them over the line or to get them finished. It's just not happening. You know, you're having a bit of panic, because this comes back to you as an educator. You know, we've always felt that pressure of just like, you know, it does reflect on us, how successfully we run the program. What advice would you give in this situation? You know, you're a week out from pulling this all together and you're facing into a bit of vulnerability there.
I think it would just be giving that motivational, encouraging speech that probably takes people over the line. And not being too aggressive or too pushy or trying to manage the situation, because although it does come up to you, it's still the students that are driving this. So I would say, like, just let them know that you are driving this and push them in that direction rather than being too aggressive about it, because I know it's a 5-week program, but well, realistically, it's all right because it's just 5 weeks. You can't do everything within 5 weeks. And well, deadlines do get missed, and it gets missed even with us when we are running projects that are costing, they're going to cost us a lot of dollars in terms of money. So think about what you're going to lose. If it's not too much, then it's not probably a deal breaker. So have they learned enough in the past 4 weeks? That's more important to me. Might not be the most sound advice.
If we push them too much, we're pushing them in the wrong direction and they won't succeed, because everyone's got their own speed and their own passion and goals. That's what I find. If you push them in the wrong direction, they're just going to be demotivated and just going to give up before they wouldn't have done it. So yeah, let them boss their future.
Absolutely.
Truly.
Wonderful. Fatima, Peter, Paula, all of the educators joining us today, thank you so much. I know in the background we've been talking about this program and we're just hearing and I said it right at the beginning, but just the energy and the excitement that we're hearing from the student groups that you're working with. Just hats off. You're doing an amazing job, and this sort of program doesn't come to life without your input and turning up to these sessions as well. So thank you for the work you're doing in the Boss the Future program. Thank you to Fatima at Amazon for your time this afternoon. Peter, the Director of Future Schools, I know you're busy with another school as well. And Paula at Academy of Entrepreneurs, thank you. I will be online for another 15 minutes or so. If you had any questions, Paula, I'm sure you're going to stick around as well. I'm going to officially
check out of the hotel. I'm always in a rush between things. I need to check out. But
I will be here. Peter will be here.
Wherever you guys want, just message me. I'll be checking out. So I won't be contactable for the next hour, but after that, I'll be back online. So anything big and small. And I'll see you guys next week. We've got Google, and the following week we've got Dell. So yeah, so we've got all of the innovators joining us, sharing their amazing experience and tips with us. So let's just wrap education together, guys. We can do it. The world needs us.